Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-hosts Noah Byrne and Nick Miller. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Pretty good.
Good to hear. So with our first story here today, we have Luke Schenn is drawing interest from teams. So I'm just going to pull up a tweet here from Nick Alberga saying, the Boston Bruins and Calgary Flames could be emerging as leading contenders for Luke Schenn, if/when the Canucks are ready to pull the trigger. Now, this year, Luke Schenn's doing pretty good. So he's making $850K, which is good for teams that are in a bit of a cap crunch. He's on their second line, and I'll pull up the stats here as well, really quick. He's playing. He's about to beat all of his top career high in categories like offensively and defensively. So, and it's not even halfway through the season, or well, just over halfway. So that's a pretty good telltale for teams who are looking for a right-handed defenseman. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, Calgary's a really, really interesting one for me. That kind of stuck out when you said that there. They're trying to contend for a playoff spot, right? By the way, it's crazy to me that Calgary is outside looking in for the playoffs, like especially after that offseason they had, bringing in guys like Huberdeau. We all know the Kachuk Huberdeau Weegar trade, but bringing in guys like Kadri and adding a couple pieces on their blue line, it's crazy they're not in a playoff spot. But if they are trying to make a playoff push, like I said, I don't know if Luke Schenn is the right guy to do that, right? Besides, they have guys like Tanev and Zadorov there who already kind of fit that bill of physical presence. Personally, if I'm Calgary, I kind of stay away from Luke Schenn, and I look to add like a more offensive piece on that blue line.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you there. I don't really think that Calgary needs any more physicality on their blue line. They've already got like Zadorov, like you said, and Tanev that already fit that type of play style. I think rather than Boston or Calgary, a Luke Schenn reunion with Tampa Bay or with Toronto, I think makes a lot more sense because those teams are A, in a cap crunch, and B, they're in as win now as you possibly can be, especially Toronto with Matthews expiring next season. And Tampa, everyone's getting old. No one's getting younger. Like, they've won 2 Stanley Cups. They've already got their cups, but like they're not getting any younger. So if they want to try to win a few more with everybody locked up, Luke Schenn on the right side might be a good replacement for a guy like Perbix or a guy playing on the first line like Bogosian. And with Toronto, I don't know how comfortable you are with their right side, but I'm definitely not. So I think Luke Schenn could bring a really big physical presence to Toronto or Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, making $850K, Kyle Dubas and Brisebois are licking their chops at that contract, right?
Absolutely.
Now, one thing to note is also last night during the game, he limped off the bench during a TV timeout. Now, I got nothing on that, but that's something to keep an eye out if it could be an injury long term or something. But not sure the details on that, but that's just something to keep an eye on. With our second story, we have the NHL is exploring an outdoor game in Florida. Now, this came from a tweet from Kevin Weeks, and that reads, as he's been reported, a potential Stadium Series game in Florida next year. I'm told it could be the Battle of the Sunshine State with the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning at Raymond James Stadium. But the situation is fluid and lots of factors remain. Now, we've seen how an outdoor game has worked in Lake Tahoe, and that it didn't go good. The ice was melting, and it was just a horrible game to watch. Like, I understand trying to spread the market, but it just don't work. Like, and this is Raymond James Stadium right here. This don't look like somewhere that could host an NHL game with ice. It just doesn't. So, now, what do you think about that? Let me know.
I'm gonna rip the NHL for this one. Like this has got to be an absolute joke. Like, how are you gonna do an outdoor game in 80-degree weather? Like you said, you've seen Lake Tahoe. They were skating around there in slush, right? Not that and the market down in Sunrise is a joke, right? I remember a couple of years back, I was down on vacation down in Sunrise, and we went to a Panthers game. Being the hockey nut that I am, and we got I think it was 5 or 6 rows back from center ice. It was the Capitals and the Panthers. Now Ovechkin, who was on the Capitals, we watched him, and he's a stud in the league. But they were like $50 for 5 rows back. If you take that and you put that in an arena like the Bell Center in Montreal or the Air Canada Center in Toronto, they're like $200-300 tickets, right? I'm sick and tired of the NHL trying to push these cities that aren't hockey markets. I think they just announced next year it's the Kraken and the Golden Knights in the Winter Classic. Like, they're two teams that are brand new in the league. They don't have any history. They don't have it doesn't make sense. The league is a joke. It's starting to turn into an absolute joke.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you on that too. I really don't like outdoor games in places like that because, like as you said, they were skating around in like slush. That it took so much effort to keep the ice just in good skating condition, and never mind the fact that like the market in Sunrise is just brutal. Like in Florida, it's not that great anyway. Like in the whole state, Tampa Bay is getting a little bit better. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the team has been so successful for such a long period of time now. It's been over 10 years since Tampa was, I think, even considered a bad team. So I agree with you on that. But I've also got to say something like the NHL has yet to put arguably its biggest rivalry in its history in an outdoor game yet, in 15 years of playing the outdoor games. Montreal and Toronto, of course, they haven't been in an outdoor game yet. Montreal and Toronto is the biggest rivalry in hockey, arguably. Calgary and Edmonton might have something to say about that. But with Montreal and Toronto, like how have they not been in an outdoor game yet? Like it's in Canada, it's cold. You can play it easily in like say a place like the Rogers Center or something like that, especially with the new upgrades this year. It looks a little bit nicer, but yeah, for me, I just really don't understand what they're trying to do with the marketing. I get it, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, like I can understand trying to put a team, like a southern team in, but at least put them in the north. Put them somewhere where you can get ice. It could stay frozen. Like you can't have the ice melting mid NHL game while it's on TV. Like that you can't let that happen. It just don't work that way.
Yeah.
And with our final story here, Dylan Cozens signed a huge extension with the Buffalo Sabres. So I think this is a very good deal for Buffalo. Having this guy come off, he's playing much better recently as well with the over the past few years since final year of his deal. And now the Buffalo Sabres have close to $20 million of new players that are activating their extensions next year. But, it's Tage Thompson and Dylan Cozens are the two main ones. Both very good deals. And, Cozens is just playing much better than he has, like I said. And I'll pull up his points here. Like, he has 43 points this season already, which is phenomenal for him. So what do you think about this deal, Noah?
Yeah, I think it's an absolute steal. Like you said, I mean, outside of that Samuelson deal, Buffalo is starting to get some really, really good pieces locked up. Like Tage Thompson, I think, like you said, I think he's on that same 7.1, which is, I mean, you know how well he's been. He's tearing up the league, right? I'm a little bit blown away by how much these guys are signing for. Like nowadays, the starting number, it starts with 8. Even almost 8.5. Like I think it was Stutzel, if I am correct. He's been kind of okay. And Ottawa just throws 8.5 at him, right? Like you put up like 60 points in one of your first 3 years on your ELC, and you're getting at least 8.5. Like, teams that have big pending restricted free agents are absolutely loving this deal.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what a guy like Caulfield or Zegras are going to get on their extension. Because those guys have a higher point per game pace, like Dylan Cozens and Matt Boldy have a higher point per game pace than Cole Caulfield in their careers so far. So it makes you wonder what Cole Caulfield's ceiling on that deal is, or what Trevor Zegras' ceiling on his deal is. But with Buffalo, I love this deal. I think that the Samuelson one is a little bit odd, but back to Cozens, I think him and Tage Thompson making around the same amount of money and both being like pretty big pieces for their future in their top 6. I really like what Buffalo's doing with their top 6 now. Ever since they got rid of Eichel, it seems like everything is going right. And it's not a knock to Jack Eichel. It's just the fact that the management was different when he came in, and they kind of ruined it a little bit. They just had to get a new fresh start. I like the top 6. I like the young guys. I like Peterka. I like all those guys. And I like how they're making a little bit less money than they normally would. Like Tage Thompson and Dylan Cozens on those deals is an absolute steal, right? So, and maybe it makes room for, like, say, if the hometown boy wants to sign there next season, and Patrick Kane, it makes a little bit of room for him to sign under that cap. So I like this deal.
Yeah, it's
really interesting.
As well as you have guys like Kyle Okposo who are expiring after this year as well. And you think he'd go back, but it definitely will not be for $6 million, or shouldn't be at least. And if they do, so
hope not.
Yeah. So if they want to re-sign Patrick Kane, if they get him, having those 2 contracts and Okposo, for example, expiring, that'll create a lot of room for him to be able to make the deal.
Yeah.
And that's all for this video, guys. So if you want to see more from us all throughout the season, all throughout the offseason, trade deadline, draft, everything. Make sure to subscribe because we're going to be posting a lot until the trade deadline as well and throughout the season. So make sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching.